Hi guys, welcome to Octane. I'm sure when this gets millions of hits on YouTube, we'll all forget that we're in the middle of the coronavirus, but here we are. I'm talking about workflows for lifecycle management. We're going to be talking about IT automation within this session and really going real deep into Okta workflows, which I'm sure you saw in the keynote. This includes forward-looking statements. You can look at the attached slides for more information. My name is Arvil Nagpal. I'm a senior product manager here with Okta. I work exclusively on the Okta Workflows product, and I'm going to be joined today by Brent and Benny. They both work at Okta customer Discount Tire, and they're going to be talking about their own journey in utilizing and seeing the value of Okta Workflows. Joiner, mover, leaver is really how we describe how Okta today manages joiner, mover, leaver life cycles related to all the different user identities that might occur within your organization. Joiner is really the process which identities are really brought in from a third-party system and are onboarded, and to ensure that all the users in your environment have the right applications that they need access to on day one. Mover flows are really around what happens kind of at steady state within an organization when people change roles. They get promoted, they get married, or through leave of absences, and how application access needs to be changed based on those actions. And then finally, leaver flows are really around how do you as an organization maintain strong security posture and make sure that access is cut off when employees or contractors leave your organization. Great. So when we think about our existing lifecycle management product, it really adds automations in three areas. When we think about our provisioning capabilities, this really has to do with creating, updating, and deactivating accounts in third-party systems like Box and Slack. That also extends to our integration partners that have built on top of SCIM, of which we have more than 200 of. We also have capabilities to manage identity lifecycles. This really has to do with our HR integrations, as well as maintaining user states like active, inactive, and suspended. And then finally, access grants really fall in two buckets. It's a set of policies like group rules around who should have access to what, and then it's a set of lightweight app request workflows that we also have modeled in the product. For IT, it's really around reducing total cost of ownership, deprecating legacy code, and improving your security posture when offboarding users. For HR, it's really around enhancing the employee experience so they have everything they need access to on day one. And then lastly, for employees, they're happier. You avoid delays with getting them access to different applications with profile updates, and there's a consolidated place to view your profile as well as it relates to identity. So today, our lifecycle management product, or what we call LCM, helps automate common scenarios. Customers really value our product because it's prescriptive, easy to use, and easy to set up to automate these joiner, mover, leaver flows. But as we've progressed, organizations want more flexibility. They want more customization in how they want to handle joiner, mover, leaver scenarios. These customizations really fall into three buckets. The first, logical conditions. These are like the how and the why I want an automation to occur. For example, I'd like to have customized onboarding processes for employees versus contractors. The second one is really around timing. This is a problem of when. For example, when an employee leaves, I need to make sure they still have access to their payroll system for 90 days. And then finally, we marry those logical and those timing conditions with being able to implement multiple actions in any system. So for example, for a contractor to FTE conversion, I want to update their permissions in G Suite and notify their manager. Cool. So what is Okta Workflows? Okta Workflows is a powerful engine that is built on a no-code platform that automates identity-specific tasks. No code is really critical. It doesn't take a developer to build complex automations. Every single flow that you build always starts with an event. In this case, the event is at an source. You can then implement logical conditions, like is the user on an EMEA sales team? If so, then you would like to assign the user to an EMEA territory and then add them to the EMEA sales channel and send a welcome message. It's this if this then that automation platform that we believe will really take the lifecycle management product to the next level. Just wanted to announce, I'm sure you heard this in the keynote, that Lifecycle Management Workflows is now generally available, which we're really excited about. And we've been working hard to get. We've been working really hard for a year to get to this milestone. We've got successful customers like Slack, Discount Tire, NTT Data, and dozens more as part of our early adopter program. We've got happy customers. Workflows should come with some kind of a warning. They are addictive as hell, is what one customer told us. And lastly, it's now available to everyone. It's available as part of the advanced lifecycle management SKU. So if you've already purchased it, you can get it today by talking to support or your CSM. And if not, then it's open to be purchased. We'll now go into a quick demo of the product and just a real life scenario that I personally have been going through where we can use and show the value of Okta workflows. Hey guys, demo time. The situation here in this demo is that I'm an owner of a little internal group here at Okta called Dad Inc. And we really just have cool dad hats. That's mainly the purpose, kind of like this one. And so this is a pretty exclusive group, but from time to time, we'll let some other people in. The only requirement is they just need to have a 10 out of 10 rating on the dad scale. To be totally honest with you though, this onboarding process is getting me pretty frustrated. We have 3 total members right now, and I can't handle the load. Every new user needs to be invited to its channel in Slack. They need access to our top secret dad application. And I also need to keep track of whether they've paid member dues. Dad hats aren't cheap, you know. And so usually before I start a flow, I like to do some kind of mocking out of the flow itself. And so what we kind of want to mock out is the trigger for this flow, the thing that starts the flow, is going to be the users assigned to the dad group. We're going to validate that it is in fact the right dad group. We have the group ID of the correct group. We also want to vet that the individual has a dad rating of 10. I then want to invite Jess, our new member, to the Dad Inc. channel, compose a quick welcome message for her, and then add a row to a dues table just to make sure whether she's paid her dues or not. So we'll come over to the workflows console here, and I've created a folder for us called Dad Inc. Let's create the flow. The first thing we're going to do, every flow starts with an event. So we click Add Event, we click Okta, and we scroll down and we say User Added to Group as our event. Perfect. This event has really critical information, like information on the user that was added to the group, as well as the information about the group itself. Cool. We then want to make sure that we have the right group. So functions are really critical, and that they kind of surround all of the actions that we're going to do in other applications to introduce logic, introduce data manipulation, things like that. So if we go to branching, this is where our logic is. We want to use a continue if function. This flow will only continue if this condition is true. So I want to take the group ID and I want to make sure that it's equal to the group that we need here. Cool. I generally like to save, so we'll call this the Dad Inc. onboarding flow. I want to save all data to make sure that my history is captured. And let's just turn it on just so we can test as we go. Cool. Next, I need to make sure that Jess has got a dad rating of 10. Now, as you can see on the event profile, I don't actually have that much. There's only 4 attributes that I get: their ID, their username, their display name, and the type of user. So very often we have to go back into Okta to get additional information. That's where the Okta Read User card will come in handy. I scroll down, I click Read User. I'll get a list of parameters of the things that will get returned. I actually don't need a lot of this. So let's just delete this. Let's scroll down. Let's get their username, their first name, their last name, and their DAD rating all the way at the bottom. Cool. And then as part of this, we will go here. Let's just make sure that we often can test this card. So let's just go ahead and test. So we'll go jess.star@okta.com. Test. Perfect. So this gives us all the information that we require. Next, I want to do another continue if on that function. Just in case another user comes in, I want to make sure they also have a data rating of 10. I then take their data rating from the read user card, put it up here, and make sure that it's equal to 10. Cool. Let's save our flow. Awesome. Cool. So let's go ahead and quickly test this flow. I'll come back to my group. Let's just add somebody just kind of as a test. We'll add Jalen Brown. Awesome. Let's save. Let's make sure that it's updated, which it is. If we go back to our flow here and I click flow history, we see that we have a successful person. Awesome. So basically we know this flow is working so far. Now let's kind of continue to build. So what we now want to do is we want to invite Jess to the dating channel. Cool. This is where the app actions come in. You can see we have a bunch of connectors in our environment. Let's click Slack and let's invite the user to a channel. We want to use a channel ID because we have a large number of channels in this environment. In terms of the user ID, what we require is actually this ID right here, which I've gathered before. And then we also need the channel ID. Cool. These are things you can get directly from Slack. Next, what we want to do is we want to compose a welcome message. So I click function. You can use this compose card basically to send, create a nice message. And so let's just say first name, which is Jess. You've been admitted to the best employee resource group this galaxy has ever seen. I hope you are proud of this accomplishment. Please pay your dues. I am poor. Chief Data Officer, Arvil. Perfect. Let's save. And then finally, we want to do our last app action, which is sending a message to the channel. Cool. Let's use channel ID again. Let's send it as a bot. Awesome. We want to send this compose message. Let's send this from dadbot. And then again, the channel ID is the following. Cool. Let's save again. Awesome. Save flow. Okay, it's cool. And now the last thing we want to do is we want to add a row to the table. So I've actually gone and I've created a quick table. Table is basically a lightweight way where you can store information. This is a table that basically just will store their name and then their dues paid status. Cool. So let's go to your functions and you have the ability to automatically add rows to tables. So if I click tables and I click create row, I can choose the table, which is dad dues. I then want to drag their first name into the table, and then their due paid status is def not paid, exclamation mark. Cool. Let's save again. Awesome. So we kind of have our flow end to end now. We'll have the trigger. We have some conditional logic just to make sure we've got the right group. We've got the right user. They make sure they have the DAD rating of 10. I invite the user to a channel. I send a message to that channel, and then I create a row in a table. Let's go ahead and test. Hopefully this will work. Here's our DAD group. Let's click Manage People. Let's click Jess. Let's click Add. Let's click Save. Adding one user to the group in progress. Let's make sure that this fires. Awesome. Let's come back here. Let's scroll over. Let's go to flow history. User not found. Okay, so this is interesting actually. I've got an error and the user ID was not found for some reason. HTTP request 400, user not found. Okay, interesting. So something happened with my user ID. Let's go back to our flow. Let's test it. Let's test this with another. Let's make sure I have the right. Oh, I might have a space. That's what's going on. Hanging spaces. What are you gonna do? But let's go ahead and test this again. So I've actually got to remove Jess from this group. Let's click Save. Removing one user from group in process. Sweet. Cool. Let's go ahead and re-add her to re-trigger it. Let's just make sure that I save this. Yep, I did. Save. It's in progress. Sweet. I come into flow history. Sweet. Okay, now it was successful. Let's go through the flow history. So all these green checks kind of demonstrate that certain parts of the flow were successful. She's got a data rating of 10. We invited the user to a channel. We sent a message to the channel, and now let's go and let's double check that everything is correct. Let's go up to my users, DAD Inc. Sweet. Jess, you've been admitted to the best employee resource group this galaxy has ever seen. I hope you are proud of this accomplishment. Please pay your dues. Let's go back to our table and let's refresh and let's see if this all worked out. Awesome. And it updated. Perfect. Well, that was just a quick demo. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Back over to the rest of the presentation. Thanks. Great. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that demo from my hat-wearing alter ego. We're now going to talk a little bit about the use cases that we're focusing on for this year. We really are being very targeted with what we're addressing in terms of lifecycle management use cases for this year. This is a very flexible, a very generic, and a very powerful platform. And so it's really important that we focus. We're going to be talking about these in more detail a little bit later in the presentation, but effectively the 5 use cases that we're focusing on are advanced provisioning and deprovisioning. So these are creating, updating, and deactivating users and third-party systems, resolving identity creation conflicts and creating GUIDs, improving visibility and sharing lifecycle data, notifications, and then finally using time as a way to influence policies to manage identity lifecycle. I'm actually now going to hand it over to the Discount Tire guys, where Brent will be kicking off, where he'll be talking about how Discount Tire has really seen value from implementing workflows for 3 of these 5 use cases. Take it away, Brent.
All right. Thank you, Arvil. Just want to introduce myself. I am Brent Wiley. I am a system engineer / IAM team lead for Discount Tire. For those of you that don't know us, we are America's largest independent tire and wheel retailer. We were founded in 1960 in Ann Arbor, Michigan by Mr. Bruce T. Hawley. He left us with a few operating philosophies and some life lessons before he passed away a couple years ago. And they are still important to us. Our operating philosophies are the ones that you see on the top row here, especially about our customers, and this is the important thing for just our baseline philosophy for our stores. Every day we must earn the right to call you our customer. So this is embedded in our management and in our stores. And then we have our life lessons here on the bottom row: honesty, work hard, have fun, be grateful, pay it forward. Again, these are things that our management and stores really live by. We are in 1,000+ locations across 35 states. We have about 24,000 users, employees and contractors between those stores and our regional and corporate offices. And for those of you that may live in California, we go by America's Tire in parts of California. And for anybody that's in those gray areas up in New York and otherwise, we also go by Discount Tire Direct in the markets that we don't have retail stores in. So that's a background on the company itself. For our team specifically, and we report into our security team and report directly to our CISO. We are specifically around our objectives, our user experience. We try to provide single sign-on, self-service password reset, things that will improve the user experience for our employees. We also strive to improve our operational efficiency. For that, we want to automate wherever possible, trying to eliminate some of those manual steps that end up causing strife in our processes. And then we want to increase our security posture. That's where we want multi-factor authentication, adaptive MFA, and using products like Okta's Threat Insight. The focus for our team specifically, we want to be the owners of identity. We want a single view instead of having to find our users in multiple disparate systems. We want to deliver new capabilities. We want SAML. We want OAuth. We want integrations with mobile applications. We have a brand new tire tread reader that we have at the stores that's on an Android device that we want to be able to integrate with using OAuth. We want to be able to have rules for applications, when to put somebody into an application, when to give them a certain role inside of that application, when to remove them from an application. And then just normally we just want MFA for security process, right? And just a background on our environment. We have Workday as a master, so we're pushing and pulling users from Workday into Okta. And then inside of Okta, we're provisioning down into our Active Directory on-premise systems. We also have a separate Active Directory forest that is for what we call retail. And specifically, those are for our tire technicians, our managers at the stores. They want to be able to get in and out of systems quickly. So they have a different password policy. Doesn't require MFA, gets them in and out of our applications as quick as possible. Because they're helping customers. They don't want to have to put in a 16-digit long password. We've had a historical need after we set this process up in 2017. We found some things that we needed to enhance as we pushed through. Some of those would be moving OUs in Active Directory, deleting old accounts in Active Directory and Okta. processing permissions for people who go on leave and when they return from leave, getting all those permissions set when they come back. We sort of defaulted as Active Directory folks to just using PowerShell scripts. And well, that worked for a little while. The issues that we have with that is that there's custom code that had to be maintained and updated. There was scheduling conflicts with other scripts. There was delays in synchronizing that information back up to Okta. And as a result, we had a sort of a patchwork of on-premise PowerShell scripts that acted on both AD and in Okta via API calls. What we found is that our management had a desire to try to avoid any new custom code, any new custom PowerShell code like that. Keep lifecycle events in Okta. We wanted to identify. We kind of identified workflows as part of an early adoption program with Okta, and we wanted to see what that might do for us. What we found is that it fit our desire to avoid the custom code. It eliminated the time delays coming back to Okta and that Okta AD synchronization that occurs on a time schedule. And it allowed real-time events with triggers instead of passive batch approaches that we had with PowerShell. So we identified a few pain points that workflows that was going to be used to help us with. And some of these are listed on the screen here. As you may remember, we previously couldn't delete users in Okta. And then whenever we did get the permission to delete users in Okta, we didn't have any good automated way to do it. So we were going to put that in with a PowerShell script. And then when we found workflows, we stopped and moved it to workflows. We had group rules, best practices for Okta to have an everyone group, but then not have that everyone group assigned to applications. So you want to assign a company-specific everyone group that is a rule that all new users go into that new group. Problem is that if we assign that group to an application, then we have an issue where, depending on when the account was created, did it evaluate the everyone rule or did it evaluate the company rule first? So we had some issues with how when the rules ran and what order they ran in. Then we had an issue with it was actually a new requirement that we got from one of our business teams where they needed to keep access to our employees after they left the company for a period of X number of days. So we needed to come up with a process that removed all access to the user, but kept them having access to this one application. What we found is that the PowerShell scripts would run. They were delayed. They would run out of order. It ended up causing some partial evaluations of those accounts and left them in a kind of a flux state in both Okta and in Active Directory. And then finally, we had some issues with some data fidelity where we our Workday integration with Okta had a blip and caused some of our non-prod environments to lose data. What we wanted to do is have a way to back up that data, have it available if there was another issue in the future. So without further ado, I will send it over to our resident wizard of workflows, Benny Reddy.
Hello, everyone. Myself, Benny Reddy, and I go by Benny. And I'm with Discounter working as an identity and access management technical analyst. And I'm here to present the list of achievements that we got and achieved through Workflows Console, which is provided by Okta, which is a wonderful automation tool with zero coding. As Brent mentioned, we have a couple of use cases that we considered as a pain point, and with the workflows console, we achieve and address these issues very quickly in an efficient time manner. So the first pain point is since we as a discount tier is a retail firm, we have a lot of onboarding and offboarding process that we actually happen within our enterprise system. And we do have nearly 35,000 accounts which are in deactivated state, and we want to clean up these accounts in an efficient way. And we got to know about the workflows console. We thought this would be a best solution which would be able to delete the accounts which are in deactivated state in few minutes. I used different workflow function cards where it's a kind of fetching users and doing some mathematics, like computation and applying filters. And finally, we send an API action to delete the users to Okta tenant by using workflows console. And by doing so, within a short time of a week or so, we were able to delete 28,000 accounts, which is a great achievement for our team in terms of maintaining the retention policies as per the discount tier enterprise. And coming to the second point, we do have the group rules which are not running in sequence. Initially, when we, since Okta will be keep on updating their system, the group sequence we initially configure is not in sync, and just because the priority of the sequence got changed to alphabetical order. And we thought of doing it by PowerShell, but since again it's a maintenance efforts and it's a timing overlap with the PowerShell script, so we thought of using workflows console, and we implemented workflows in a way that the group rules would be triggered in a sequence order with a wait time of 20 seconds. So for that, we use a scheduler which would be running from 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. every day, which will deactivate the group rule and wait for a certain period of time which we mentioned, and then it's going to activate the rule. By doing so, by having this flow, we were able to see pretty good results where the users were not being stuck up in any kind of grace conditions, and the users are being provisioned to the applications, target applications downstream in an efficient way. As Brent mentioned, we have a new business requirement that we got to know that the employees should have access to a certain application for a period of time, and the contractor should be terminated right away with no access to any other applications which are connected to identity platform. So the logic currently lies within PowerShell, but the PowerShell is a bit tough to maintain, and the efficiency and the timing issues which could cause discrepancies. And the problem is we kind of run the scripts hourly, and we just want to automate the process to run real time. So with the introduction of workflows, we were able to read all the events from the Okta tenants, and we were able to make some updates on the user whenever the user is suspended, and we're going to do some computation. And as per our requirement, we're going to deactivate the account, send a deactivation action to Okta saying if the user is a contractor, deactivate, and if the user is an employee, just unsuspend and leave the user in active state with an application which we thought should have access for at least a certain period of time. This was a big achievement in terms of our LCM process that we are currently doing with PowerShell. Since doing this workflows console, we were able to get rid of PowerShell and minimize the custom code that we have in our discount tier platform. The final pain point is data fidelity and backup. In terms of data fidelity, we never had any source or a way that we could just take a snapshot of Okta UD data and implement any feature flags or any integrations that we do as a part of IAM team. So recently, we got to know that Workflows console also provide tables, which is a great mechanism where we can able to write data into the tables and see what events got captured and able to identify what were the changes that have been applied post and pre to a deployment. In terms of any feature flag that got enabled or any imports that runs between, we have multiple systems running imports talking to Okta. If any system writes or overrides any data, we can able to easily identify by using workflow tables. And the events, like I mentioned, we're going to fetch the events from from Okta system logs, and we're going to fetch information, and we're going to write the data into table. The workflow provides 100K rows, which is an excellent feature, and we were able to easily purge the tables based on our certain period of time or based on the availability of data for our lookup. Currently, we have 2 in our production system and 2 in our non-prod systems where we are targeting to deploy by end of April. And on the flight, we do have a couple of use cases, like the administrator should be notified when when an application got activated or deactivated, or any kind of IDP configuration got updated. We have to be notified, and whenever we support access to the Okta support technicians, we would be notified from which tenant and who enabled and what is the time frame that was got enabled for the support technicians. And all the flows that I'm working and I've worked so far, I've done with the coordination and engagement with the Workflows Tiger team. They provide great support and help to me throughout the deployment and throughout the development activities. And I'm very glad and I'm happy that we were able to automate the things with a few time and efficiency with zero coding, and we were able to get rid of custom coding. Thanks for the opportunity, and I'm going to hand it over to Arvil Nagpal.
Thanks, Benny. Hopefully, I know sometimes in these presentations, it's like, man, this product manager is really droning on and on, but hopefully when we bring customers in, they really, help you guys understand like what it means to be a customer. How do they use this product to identify real life use cases and pain points? So I hope that was helpful to you guys. We're now going to be deep diving. I mentioned a few of the workflow use cases up front. We're now going to go through each one, and we're going to really talk about example flows for how one could implement workflow. Is really around advanced provisioning and deprovisioning. So I want to not just create users, but ensure they have the right groups, licenses, access levels, for example. When we think about thoroughly provisioning, very frequently, we'll create an account in Salesforce with some attributes. But now with workflows, we can go much deeper. We can assign licenses. We can look up their team in Okta and then assign them a territory. When it comes to deprovisioning, this is really around, depending on the application, how do we deprovision in a way that's non-destructive? So, for example, with something like Box or G Suite, we might suspend the user and then look up their manager, transfer their folders to their manager, and then finally delete the user. So it's really about using workflows to improve the degree to which you're customizing these onboarding and offboarding flows according to your business process. Second, is a key thing within every organization we talk about is when there's a new user, as part of that onboarding process, it really involves 2 things: making sure that they have a unique identity and unique identifiers. The first use case is really around resolving conflicts around those unique identities. So, for example, John Smith might come in and that username is already taken, john.smith@okta.com, for example. Now, using the import inline hook in a scheduled import from something like Workday with our existing HR integrations, you can be notified of that conflict, build resolution logic and workflows like adding a 1 to the end of their username or adding a middle initial. And then after running that logic, the user will be successfully imported. So it's a way to automate these conflict use cases. The second one is really around GUIDs. So for example, at Okta, we have employee identifiers, employee IDs, for example. Now you can build that GUID logic directly in workflows, specifying the degree to which you want numbers versus strings, the length of that identifier, and then making sure after that flow runs that the user profile is updated in Okta directly. The third use case we're going to be talking about is really around improving visibility and sharing data. Okta is a sensitive system. It has a lot of implications as to what happens to different users. And so we want to make it easier for you to be able to consolidate and share data based on lifecycle events. Today, we got a lot of customer requests that they try to hack together really basic reports, like what members are part of this group, by utilizing custom code to call our APIs. I've heard of customers literally copying and pasting things from the UI itself, which really pains me as a product manager. And that's mainly formatted and emailed around to different people. We think we can do way better. With Okta workflows, whether that is an event-based trigger or a periodic poll of our API using the Okta connector, you can run logic like, get me all the users in this group, or every time a user is suspended, I would like to store them in a table. And then with both our CSV export functionality as well as our integrations to Google Sheets, Excel Online, that can be automatically emailed and exported to whoever needs access to that data, whether it's other IT administrators or your business partners. The fourth use case is really around notifications. People need to be notified when things happen in Okta. It happens all the time. Two examples that we hear about are really around notifying end users and notifying every other administrators. For example, when a user is assigned to the app in Okta, many admins just want to notify that user that they've been given access, and then potentially send an email with Office 365 to their manager. Separately, many things happen in Okta, like API tokens are created. Those are pretty sensitive. And maybe you want to notify other administrators when it occurs. In this flow on the bottom, you can email an admin distribution list as well as the head of IT when anytime an API token is created. Finally, the last case is usually using time to our advantage to modulate who has access to what. For example, when terminating, sometimes many companies want that employee to retain some access. So, for example, you can move them to a separate group that is specific to terminated employees, where they only have access to one or two applications. And then on a scheduled basis, a year later, you can actually turn off all their access. So you can set that policy up front and it'll be fully automated. Secondly, you can grant time-bound access. So we hear about this with contractors a lot. Hey, I want to create this contractor, but 90 days later, I want to automatically suspend them because I want to maintain a strong security posture and I've got a rogue account issue. You can now do all that with workflows. And then finally, a common use case is around suspending inactive users. So sometimes people don't log in to the product. Let's say after 30 days of them not logging in, you'd like to send them an email warning. And then a week after that, you actually want to deactivate them. So those are three separate use cases where you can use our functions related to time and dates to your advantage in making sure that people only have access to what they need. There are other use cases, and honestly, we're just not quite there yet. And these are four that come up time and time again. Human workflows, so those access requests and approvals. HR as master. We can extend HR as master functionality as our existing integrations work, but we don't quite have HR integrations yet or are able to support complex password delivery flows. With customer identity, we're not quite there yet with a dedicated SKU, and we're not supporting any customer identity use cases, but that will definitely be coming this year. And then finally, around security orchestration, automation, and response. When something that's more security oriented happens in Okta and you'd like to notify, that's totally fine. But we don't quite have the deep integration yet with these security orchestration and response systems. But I think all of these are coming in short order in the next year or so. So we're actively working towards expanding the use cases that we're serving today. Finally, on roadmap this year, we're really working on three big areas. We really want to deepen our connector catalog and make sure that we have the best identity-focused set of connectors that exist in the industry. We want to provide tooling to help you guys manage flows at scale. And then finally, community is really critical for us. We want builders to be able to discover and share both flows as well as connectors. In terms of next steps, get workflows. That's our best advice. We'd love your feedback and trying out the product. If you've already got the advanced lifecycle management SKU, talk to your CSM or reach out to support to get access. If you don't have the SKU yet, talk to your rep. You can check out our tutorials at learn.workflows.okta.com. And then definitely feel free to email us with any questions at workflows@okta.com. Finally, I just want to recommend a few sessions. Roadmap sessions. My boss, David, will be giving a session at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, where he'll be talking about roadmap related to workflows itself. George will be doing a roadmap presentation for lifecycle management as a whole, of which workflows is a component, at Thursday at 11. And then finally, much of what we do is really integrate with other systems. I'd really recommend listening into the roadmap session related to the Okta Integration Network on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Thank you so much for listening in, and appreciate your time.